I think we're live on our live stream. All we need is the cameras and we're good to go. Let's get some cameras in here. Cameras in here. What's up? This is the Friday live podcast for the Inside Dope Show. I think, you know what? I think I'm even a minute early. This is going to be sweet. Sweet preparation. Live chat is going. And there's also some feedback, audio looping, but now that that's off, so yeah, we're gonna start by saying this is the weekly live podcast for anybody that's tuning in that doesn't know what they're watching, because let's face it, anybody who is watching this, more likely than not, is probably looking at the wrong channel. We're really in our infancy stages of the channel right now, so this is day 5. We've got, I think, 5 pieces of content up on YouTube, and this is just the weekly kind of talk back I can have, where it's live, it's kind of unscripted, it's it's kind of casual, because I have the hoodie on. When the hoodie's on, the gloves are off. Had a good week this week. So yeah, like I said, there's been 4 pieces of content we dropped. So Monday was the 6 silly synonyms, which was my very first piece of exciting kind of what I kind of gripped my teeth around was like, this is what I want to kind of use as a core of what I want to do for this show. So that came to me, and we built on that. This week was, I'm trying to read, this is a bit far away now, but it was hot dogs. Hot dog. 6 silly synonyms for hot dog. And that came out as well as I would have liked it to. I'm going to drop a little bit of knowledge here, and this is for anyone. I'm just really just trying to buy some time here, just in case there's anybody who drops into the live chat. Which, if you have any questions, I had some kind of answer, whatever it is, to deliver through this. This is what these weekly live podcasts, Friday live podcasts, I think there's a nice little ring around that. So that's what we're going to deliver here. And there is something to look forward to, which I'm looking forward to, and which is the joke of the week. So which camera's on this? The joke of the week is what I look forward to. You can choose to, or you can choose not to, but it's what I look forward to for each of these Friday live podcasts, where I will close this with the joke of the week, which more likely than not, and it's absolutely true for this podcast, I would have forgotten what's actually in this. So when I do read it, we'll be reading it at the same time. I've got some, you know what, I also have something which is kind of cool. We'll go through this a bit throughout the duration of this podcast, but there is a segment which I had to scrap from the rotation, and that segment is, I'll explain why, but I'll kind of present it here. So anyone who's watching this Friday Live podcast will be getting the inside dope, the inside scoop on that. I think it's funny. Like, to me, it's stupid. It's a stupid segment, which makes it funny for me. But it's just, I couldn't really do it. So I'll be bringing that to you as well. And then I'll, towards the end of this as well, let you know Tuesday's celebrity guest on our celebrity interview segment of the podcast. Every Tuesday there is a celebrity interview, and I'll let you know what to look forward to for the next week. Last week was, and this brings me, wow, that kind of worked out nicely. So we talked about Monday, which was the 6 silly synonyms, which was hot dog. Let's just talk about that for a second, just to buy some more time. And hello to everybody who's watching on YouTube, the hub of the show. And also there's some scattered podcast audio networks which I would like to hear from if anybody has caught us on one of these networks, however that came about. There was like, okay, so we talked about this the last episode, the last podcast, the Prelude podcast. But there's some aggregators of audio which you put out your audio and then it spreads it out through different podcasts. So I'm just curious if you're getting this on Spotify, let me know and that'd be sweet. But if it's some random one as well, that'd be kind of cool to know. Throughout this weekly live podcast, there'll also be opportunities for if anyone at any stage pops into the live chat, not only for feedback, but if there's any kind of collaboration opportunities. And why I say that is I would like to shout out Matt H, who this is kind of the power of the content in the channel. Matt H reached out, and if you're watching, like, that's super dope that you reached out. So I haven't seen Matt in a long time, and somehow he found the podcast. And I was kind of thinking as to how, but I think when I signed up, it was with an email that maybe I sent an email to him through something, and the channel was recommended to him. Anyway, so that, and when I geeked out when I saw he sent me that comment on one of the videos. So shout out to Matt H. You know that I know you're doing well. I can't assume, but a person called Rebecca, who was the first subscriber, also geeked out when I saw that, because I mean the first subscriber, like I was kind of just setting things up and somebody peeped what I had out there, and that was super sweet. So shout out to Rebecca, one for the archives. It was the first subscriber on this I don't even know, one of the videos. And let's, for the sake of argument, say that it was video 2, which is Tuesday, which was the celebrity interview with I was about to say Paris Hilton with Taylor Swift. I don't know where that came from. I guess they look similar. They look similar. Don't come at me. Taylor Swift was, yeah, exactly, Tuesday's celebrity interview. So how that came about is I was putting together some tests. Like, I was trying to get some different angles. So we talked about this before, but we can reprise it real quick. I was trying to get some tests of some of the tech that's working throughout this different segments. Like, some would have slides, some would have hasn't dropped yet, but a browser, so we go live on the net and things like that. And another one was I was trying to get some media, some audio through videos to run into this broadcasting system. And so I went on YouTube and I searched for celebrity interview, and one of the first ones I clicked on was Taylor Swift. It's like, I'm indifferent to Taylor Swift, you know, like her talent, like absolute. She seems like a nice enough person. Like, again, it's none of my business. Indifferent meaning I don't know her, so no opinion, you know. But yeah, her music's decent. It's not for me, but I like her music. I like the way she portrays herself, and obviously is smart and creative and intellectually. I was going to say something that wasn't very warranted, but yeah, smart enough lady. So I cut up some 3 bits of her interview, which was, I just had some hotkeys. So I was going to the premise of the interview was I was going to just say something and then press a button, and then the celebrity would answer me in one word answers. So I'll have some long-winded thing, and then they're just like, no, or something like that. And so I was setting that up, and then as I was setting it up, I actually watched the interview, and I'm like, there might be something here. So I broke it down into sections and started to formulate like a kind of a narrative around it, just out of amusement. And then I was like, well, let's use this. By the time I was halfway through it, I had half of the kind of a script, like a story, put together. So so that became what is now going to be the regular segment of celebrity interviews. And I don't even recall if I mentioned this, but at the end of this session, this Friday Live podcast, we'll man, if you're getting some strange notification sounds coming through, I apologize. I'm doing the best I can here. Sometimes some bits of some wires and cables are plugged into the wrong sockets. So towards the end of this Friday Live podcast, we'll have the drop of what's going to be on the next Tuesdays. But the Taylor Swift one came about when I put that all together, and then I went on YouTube, and there was a segment which I found, and I believe it was from the same. I could be wrong, but I think it was from the same search result when I was looking for the celebrity interviews, and it was a Weird Al Yankovic had a segment, which I should have wrote this down, but it was, you can find it, just look for Weird Al funny interview or something like that, where he kind of did the same thing. He had some old interviews and he cut it up and he put in his own questions and made a narrative around that. But when I found that, like, it could have gone either way, right? So usually if I have an idea, and I find, and this is just from start to end, not just for this show, but if I have an idea and somebody's done it, it's kind of like I'm not going to kind of waste my time doubling back and doing what someone else has done. So I found this this Weird Al reoccurring segment, video series, I guess, where it was where he was doing this doctored celebrity interview. What I'm doing, a celebrity interview, but where I kind of differentiated it is that this is more, if you look at, as a viewer, as the audience looking at the video, it's more, I won't be making fun of these people. Like, it would be easy but tasteless and tactless, in my opinion, for the kind of for the tone of voice that I want to portray. It will be tactless for me to make fun of people or bring them down in any way. So, and that's not me taking down Weird Al segments, because they're brilliant. Maybe he got it from somebody else, but I'm going to say it was kind of innovative, and I hadn't seen anything else like it. So hopefully that will be seen as I'm not stealing it. I made it my own kind of thing. Which some of these other things, 6 silly synonyms, just to go back for a second, is something that was totally like, it was just like, this is a segment which I want to write to. Every week I want to have 6 ways of saying something in a different, like, that was just exciting to me, absolutely disattached from everything else. And then I was watching some old Johnny Carson. No, it wasn't even that. I think looking at Johnny Carson's wiki or something, and there was a segment in an old Ed McMahon, who was Johnny's sidekick, one of his shows, and it was Silly Cinema or something. It was something similar. So, to recap, Silly Cinema was similar to 6 silly synonyms. See, and that's why I like the segment, like just coming up with these silly things, like just words that sound nice together, is what I dig about that. No one in the live chat. Come on. Yeah, so that was like, and obviously it was something I honestly haven't watched it, so I'm not really sure what they did, but it was something cinema related. So 6 silly synonyms, and especially for hot dogs, I'm pretty sure no one did. And then the Tuesday was the Taylor Swift celebrity interview. And that came out, I think that came out, I cut it twice. So I recorded it once with, and I showed somebody before I released it. And some points didn't really hit. There was 2 points in particular which didn't really hit. One was it was a kind of gag that I took out my guitar and I was going to play something, and she told me like I wanted to do a duet with her, and she was like she didn't want to do it, which I thought was it was not in the spirit of the interview, and the spirit of it is making fun of me. You know, if a joke lands at somebody's expense, it needs to be at my expense, not at theirs, and it just made her seem a little. Yeah, so I dropped that, and then the other one was at the end of, there was a spot which I liked. I found some truth in it, which was putting anybody down, but it was where she was. If you've seen it, it was where she was explaining about Emma's from Philadelphia. I'm gonna say Philadelphia, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't Philadelphia. Emma from maybe Philadelphia. Emma's post, and she's talking about her day at school or something, and the conclusion of that little piece of the interview was just, again, it wasn't in the tone of voice of the segment which I was trying to build, and so I dropped that out as well. But I couldn't have found that out without the feedback when I showed my friend, because he was instrumental to one of them. I'm going to go out of order because it's live and we can go out of order. And that was the segment which happens. And so that was it, yeah. So that was the Taylor Swift, the story behind that, how it came about. I shot it twice. The main reason why I did it twice was because in the first ones I was just trying to get some kind of story together. And then once the story came together, I kind of found out, well, you know, it could go in a way of kind of ridiculing people, or it could go in a way of keeping the joke confined, you know. So that's the way it went. So the friend that I showed that and got the feedback from actually gave me a joke for the segment which is coming out. This is going to be ridiculous now. The segment that's coming out on Sunday, so I can't talk about it because it's not out yet. But on Sunday, I can tell you what it is. It's called #LookCloser. And Look Closer is something that was brought about because we had this Instagram account which I didn't know what to do with. You know, I'm not that current with taking photos of my dinner and posing for selfies. About to go live, #_LOL or whatever they do. So I was trying to find a way of getting something which was content, image content related. So we came out with this thing called #LookCloser, which is going to drop on Sunday. This first one is, it's hilarious, and he gave me a joke for that, and I can't really speak too much more on that. But if you're watching, Brett, that was a super, super sweet helpful tip that you gave me for that, and I appreciate it. And you'll see on Sunday, you'll see that come through, and be like, "That's my joke." And we joked. I was saying that it's going to be uncredited, but there you go. Your credit where credit is due. On the Wednesday, came out the movie recommendations. This is one of the latter. One of the, I think maybe not. I'm not the most. I didn't enjoy English class at school. And when it comes to writing and forming things, I love the way words sound. And if they sound right to me, then it's right. So when you write things down, it doesn't really it doesn't interest me to do it. And that's the reason. If you ever see my handwriting, I'll give you some behind the scenes, because that's what this is for, right? So, man, I'm jumping all over the place. Let's leave the movie recommendations for now, and I'm gonna bring you instead to websites that don't exist, which was on Thursday, which was yesterday. For the sake of showing you something behind the scenes, which is how I wrote, and you'll even see, hopefully it'll pick up on the camera, and I'm just waiting for it to come back onto the main camera, which is about to cue. And apologies for anyone who's Spotifying or audio otherwise looking at it, but there's a joke there. There you go. See that joke 3? So the websites that don't exist, for anyone who hasn't seen the segment, is where we go out on the internet and we find websites that exist, and then we find the websites that don't exist and we report back on those websites. And again, I kind of ran through this with a friend of mine, and we took one out, and that one that we took out was where principalsgonewild.edu was. It was nasasecret.gov, and we just felt that it wasn't funny, first of all, but that's definitely, if you're watching the show, it's definitely not a criteria that things need to be funny, because more than likely things aren't funny on this show. But we took that out because it was kind of borderline, maybe political. Like, it was, it's not just light fun. So we took that out for principalsgonewild.edu. So that was that, and now we have to go back to the future, to Wednesday, which was the movie recommendations. And the movie recommendations is a fun segment, which I enjoy doing it. And I did this, next week's, today, just before recording this podcast, the Friday Live podcast. And so I've got a stack of DVDs. I think when we get on the overhead shot, I think there's a little stack of DVDs you can see. Maybe I'm waiting again. Apologies for anyone watching the audio, listening to the audio version of this. Yeah, there we go. See, down here. Wherever. Yeah, so there's a stack of DVDs here, and I can see them from where I sit. And when I'm just working through some jokes, so I have some days where I'll just sit down and work through some jokes and get some ideas together. And when I look and see, let me give you an example. So last week we had for the movie recommendations. Too many gags going on. I couldn't recall if. Yeah, alright. So there was one where a lady's 8-year-old son was wanting to work for Google, and last Halloween he dyed his hair to resemble the Google. Here we go. Anytime you say that word, the assistant pops up. So he dyed his hair to look like the Google Internet Browser logo, and because of that, I recommended him the movie Chrome Skull. Chrome Skull, which is a gory, rated R, 18 plus movie, a slasher horror movie. And the funny thing is that the only reason I'm recommending that to him is because he dyed his hair to resemble the Google Internet Browser logo. So the premise of those gags is the wrong piece of the information is taken out of context, and that's used to recommend a movie to somebody rather than anything else. That this mother's proud of her son who's only 8 years old and he has aspirations to, like, all this stuff doesn't really matter. There's a little bit in there, and that's taken out of context to recommend a movie, and that's very funny to me. And why I say that is that when I'm looking at these titles, we used to have these things called DVDs, and then I'll just look at something and the title of it would just be like, and that, when I make those kind of connections, is very, very funny to me. So I love writing for that. I'd be doing something else. Maybe I have 5 items of one of the lists, just trying to get the 6th one to kind of make the glue to connect everything together. And after like 10-15 minutes, I've got a few that just don't fit, and then I look over and I see this DVD and bang, that joke hits me. Like, that's probably one of my favorite to write for, to contemplate and deliver. I really love the 6 synonyms. For as long as I can remember, I've always, somebody texts me something, a random image of something, and then we go back and forward with just making puns and making like things like off what we can see alone, which is the basis of having a word or having a phrase and just coming up with different ways of saying it. And so those are the 2 that every week I go to when I really want to have fun, or if I'm stuck on a joke or something, I'll go to these. So then we come to websites that don't exist, which is on Thursday, which dropped yesterday. And this is, we talked about this. Kevin, we talked about this. Alright, so I think that's all the segments that we can talk about. Today is Friday, and this is the Friday Live podcast. So 4 down and 2 to go. Tomorrow we have 1, and this is something that I do want to talk about. And if you're thinking, should I wait till the end of the podcast? You should, because there is a joke of the week coming up. It's just going to remain nested. It's going to be nested in the middle of the overhead shot, I think. I don't know. Saturday, which is this is a segment which I'd planned to do, just like before I was saying. I'm not even sure if I finished my train of thought on that, but the hashtag look closer is because I wanted something to do on Instagram, because I'm not the type to be looking for content specifically for Instagram. So I thought this is a way that I could get some kind of pictures and repurpose those pictures as Instagram posts. And I found that, recently Instagram implemented something where you could have multiple images, which means you can have one post. I think they're called posts on Instagram, which is an image, and then you can I think you click next or click an arrow or swipe or do something, and then you see another image in that series. So what came of that is there's an image, and then when we hashtag look closer, which is just a stupid, like, this, I would never use this terminology, whether written or in spoken form, which makes it funny for me when I'm saying it, when I have to hashtag look closer or something. It's just stupid to me. But when we take a closer look, and just on that, and I'm dropping knowledge. Yeah, so when you look closer, like when I was saying before that I like words and I like the way they sound, also like the way the words look when they're written down, and when I can string things together. And because the premise of this is, well, it's not the premise, but it's an underpinning kind of thought on these videos, is that the joke is on me. So when you put look closer together, you could also break it apart, especially when it's strung together as one word. You could also see it as look, see loser. And so when, again, this is some inside dope. This is some inside knowledge. So the reason I say all that is because that's what we thought up for Instagram, some content to put on Instagram. Something that was funny, like I like taking something and putting it through Photoshop and just seeing what happens, and then putting a few things through Photoshop and just seeing what connects. Like, that's fun to me. So to be able to do it for a segment is I want to say manageable, but is enjoyable. I enjoy doing it. But then the other one that we had for that was supposed to be on Saturday, and it was going to be a Twitter, the same kind of thing, but for Twitter, where I would go online and tweet celebrities, and it was going to be called like the @ like it's like a little A with it. Celebrity tweets. So I was going to go every week and tweet 3 celebrities and just say something stupid, like not stupid like inappropriate, but just like dumb. So I actually wrote the third, and that's why I mentioned all this, because I wrote the first 3 that I was going to do. And then I'm not like a news guy. I don't do I'm not like a politics or current affairs or any of this kind of thing, and that's why I wanted, in one sense, I wanted to bring this nonsense comedy, this silly comedy, out to people who could use it in their lives. But the other side of the coin is that I'm always, and since I wasn't a child anymore, have always been mindful to mind my own business, not stick my nose in where it's not wanted or needed. And so I thought this was a way I could just tweet a celebrity something funny, and they might be stressing out about something and get a chuckle from it, and it could be a helpful thing. That was the initial thought. So then I got ready to record this segment. I got my 3 celebrities, or 2 celebrities and a corporation brand, a name, and I was going to record these for the segment, which was going to drop tomorrow. Then I got on Twitter and noticed that Twitter isn't the same kind of playground as I remember it was. So I'm not a social media guy either. Like, the same reason why I didn't want this content to be on Facebook is the reason why now I've elected not to put the interactive portion of what was going to be the Saturday, what was it called? The hashtag celebrity tweets through to Twitter, because I feel that these might not have been taken as dumb jokes. And if they weren't, not only would I not be minding my own business, but I could be kind of, I think it's like poking the hornet's nest, or poking the sleeping bear or something, like, you know. All of a sudden somebody tries to put context over something, and it's a problem if I go to them and say, hey, read this, and then they read it and they have a problem with it. Like, that isn't where I need it to be. So I took it off. But I would like to give the tweets that I was going to send in this Friday Live podcast as a little bonus, a little behind the scenes, because I think they're funny. I think they're dumb, and that's why I think they're funny. And this is where I give you the inside knowledge, the inside scoop, the inside dope. So the first one was, I think this is stupid, but I think on the right day, he might have found some humor in it. And it goes like this. It went to Ice Cube. So Ice Cube, the former, well, the renowned rapper, gangster rapper. So I would have gone on the thing and gone to his Twitter account, just like kind of pretending I don't know how to do things, you know, and then written out in a very formal way, but in a way that's not very orthodox for the platform. Dear at Ice Cube, you frequently wear baseball caps. Have you ever considered wearing a matching baseball glove? Which is hilarious to me for no reason. Like, that really is funny to me. Like, and why I like it is that the logic is sound. You can't break the logic. Yet it's not funny. And because those two things are present at the same time, it makes it very funny to me. It makes it like unneeded as a sentence. So that was going to be the first one. And then to Larry King, which was a bit more clever if you read it, and funny if you skim it. And it went, so his handle, what do they call it? Name, I guess, on Twitter is King's Things. So it was going to read, Dear at King's Things, your suspenders are super cool. Your pants surely agree. Keep it up. Which is funny to me. Like the play on words. And keep it up. Keeping the pants up. And it's a nice thing to say as well, you know. Like, it's giving somebody a like, there's nothing ill-willed about sending that. But again, like, I would just rather not be on that playground. So I didn't use these. So that was the second one. And the third one, which was after the SpaceX, I'm not even sure what it's called, the rocket thing that went up. Was it a space? It wasn't a spaceship. It couldn't be a spaceship. I guess it was a rocket. Was launched. And this is one of the dumb ones. So this is one that has no meaning. And is so dumb that it shouldn't be said. Which makes it fun for me to say and funny for me to contemplate. And it was Dear at SpaceX. Congratulations on the launch. I guess the X in SpaceX must stand for extra cool. So yeah, we didn't do those ones. But there you go. There's a little extra from the cutting room floor. For anybody who's peeping this, the Friday Live podcast. Probably not live because looking now, there's nobody in the live chat. But anyone who's watching this VOD, as they call it, video on demand on YouTube via our YouTube channel or on one of the audio podcast network in audio form. And while we're in that realm, does anybody know? Well, there's some podcast network. This is not the right place to ask it, but there's some podcast not aggregation, like platform called Google Podcasts or something. Again, check it out. I don't even need to say like, hey, G word, or it just pops up. Yeah, this podcast network is apparently. Anyway, that's not that interesting for this show. I'll talk to somebody about that separately. So the game that did take over what was going to be called #celebrity tweets is called the Random Number Game, and this comes out tomorrow. We actually shot it today. It was usually I don't wait till the day before somebody the day before something is going to drop before I record it. But this one, obviously, because of what I just said, I had to kind of have a second run at that segment or the spot time and come up with something different. So that's where that came from. So we shot that today, and let me tell you the premise of it. I won't tell you anything about the segment. But this is where it came from. So there was a few ideas, and I had a few. Wow, this is. At one stage, I was going to do a cooking segment. So with the overhead, I was going to have each week some kind of cooking device. Whether it was I've got some like a portable, hot plates. I guess they're called convection plates. I don't know what they're called, but you can like cook a frying pan anywhere, right? So I was going to have that there and cook like an omelette, and then have this is going to sound ridiculous, but if it was executed well, it might have been funny. Just have a random item in the omelette and pretend that it was normal. So you put in the eggs and the milk and whisk it around, make sure the frying pan's heated up, and then put it in, count for 20 seconds, put some parsley, fold the corners over to make sure it doesn't stick, put a handful of Smurfs, and just like play the thing on that it was like just normal right to the end, and then take a bite of it, and then there'll be some kind of gag where, oh, that's Smurftastic or whatever it was. And then have like a George Foreman grill and a coffee machine and a blender. Do like a smoothie with like and put something in that wasn't meant to be in, and pretend that was going to be the original idea. But then with I couldn't make it work with the sound that comes from the devices and coming up through the microphone, which is it picks up from everywhere around, so I can't kind of block out the back half of the microphone and just speak into half, and there was too much noise, and I think it would have been funny. I believe it could have been funny, but scrap that. We had another one. So my idea that I had, and I don't think I wrote it down. There was some other idea where I'd go through the news items, and this goes back to, there was going to be something where I'd take news items, and when I started logging into news sites or loading up news sites, and again, it's just a playground I don't want to be in, so I'm not going to be doing anything topical or current. So what I came up with is the random number game where I take. It's kind of cool. So I go online. There's a random number generator. Between 0 and 100, you can find a number by chance, by random, and then I would have a question or a statement, and that number would be the answer. So delivered in the opposite way would be kind of like Jeopardy. So the answer comes first, and then you give the question. And that was... I can't... Again, watch it tomorrow. If somebody's watching this... Nobody's watching it live, but if somebody's watching this between now and 22 hours from now, 21 hours, I encourage you to watch it because it's very funny. So we recorded that. We did 2 today, actually. 2 on the same. So 6 jokes, 6 gags of something which is brought out from this this random number generator. And why I like it, there's 2 reasons why I like it. And the first is because I only have to write half a joke. So rather than writing some kind of setup statement and some kind of payoff punchline, instead the punchline is just a random number. Like, it sounds ridiculous when I say it like that, and it is a stupid premise, which is why it works. And sometimes they're funny, and the reason they're funny is because it's not a complete joke. You'll see what I mean when you when you do listen or watch that segment. It's called the random number game. Oh, I'll tell you, we went through a few names for that. It was originally I'll see if I can find the piece of paper, but it was originally going to be called something to do with the Fibonacci, and like it was weird at one point. Oh, just while I'm on it as well, if you are on Instagram and you want to see the look closer, the hashtag look closer things, subscribe or like, follow, whatever the Instagram thing is, the Inside Dope Show, and you'll be able to see those posted on Mondays. So they'll drop. I mean, I probably would better encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see it when it comes out. On Monday it'll hit the Instagram, but I think it's on Sunday it hits YouTube. Wow, I think I need to print this schedule out a bit bigger. Anyone watching, it's on YouTube, so if you want to subscribe, I would appreciate the support. Seeing the number go up in there helps. Well, I mean, ultimately it would help, hopefully, which is the premise and the reason why all this is happening. It'll help bring a little joy into your day. Every day at 8 p.m. Sydney time, there'll be some kind of thing. This is a bit different because it goes for like an hour and I'm just being a jerk in front of a camera with no... I think agenda might be the wrong word. It's definitely the right word, but I think it's the wrong word that I'm trying to use for what I'm trying to say, but with no... there's no real... Again, reason is not the right word that I'm looking for. With no rush, with no efficiency, with no brevity, with no conciseness. You know, you might be able to get out of this 1 hour the same amount of chuckles that you'll get when we post a 1 minute or a 3 minute. I think we had a 4 or 5 minute video, 5.5 minute video. So every day, we'll at least supply 2 or 3 chances to have a chuckle. Hopefully more. And that was, I think that's really all I can speak on the week that has been and the 2 days. Oh, and the Sunday. So the last day is the Sunday, which we talked about, the Instagram post show game, which is hashtag Look Closer, which comes out on this Sunday. And we shot today we shot next week's hashtag Look Closer. And to me, that's even funnier. It's more it's more random. I want to, and I look forward to next week when I can talk about the hashtag Look Closer that is going to happen in 2 days, because that to me is very funny. And that's okay, I'll tell you this. I'll say it like this. When I was saying that I had help to rewrite one of the jokes in that segment by a friend of mine, the joke is in the first slide, rather than the gag of the joke. It was John Stamos. So John Stamos was an actor who played Jesse in Full House, the sitcom, and I thought that was very funny. And when I asked for some feedback, I was the only person who knew like who he was, you know. So we changed it to what is there now, which I would not have connected to the joke, and it made the joke far more relevant and funny, which isn't always like, it's not always always sought after to have relevant and funny jokes, because jokes can be can come from any kind of angle, but in this image, when you see it, I think you'll dig it. So keep that in mind. The first gag on hashtag Look Closer, which comes out in 2 days, was originally Jesse, aka John Stamos from Full House. And that brings that to a close. So now let me tell you 2 things as we wind down. And the first thing is next week's celebrity interview on the Tuesday. So last Tuesday we had Taylor Swift, and that was just out of chance, maybe. I don't think it was out of chance. It was out of availability. The video was there, and I thought it was fitting to use it for a cut up and re-scripted interview. But this next Tuesday's interview is something that I looked around a while for the right interview. And there's a few things that you need when you do these kind of cuts, and one of them is you can't really have like a live talk show interview, because there's crowd laughing after each joke, and there's also like kind of momentum. So somebody would ask a question, usually the person who's delivering the question, the host of the show, knows how to set up for the recipient to deliver what they kind of worked out as the setup and the payoff. So they would kind of have momentum going into the joke, and then it was delivered. And that doesn't really work in this case. So you really need like a kind of a sit down interview where it's more contemplative, where like I think it was Barbara Walters or whoever was on the Taylor Swift one would like really ask a question which you should think about and then answer. And then there's a little break, and then it cuts to the talent's camera, and then, okay, well, now I've thought about, like, this is the answer. Like, and then those are very easy to cut up and put context around, because you don't need to have a question which kind of brings momentum in. So that's one of the things that you need to look for. And the other one is that each interview might be, if you have an interviewer, which is very overbearing, I guess is the word. So somebody who would give a question and then halfway, and what about, and then they kind of cut in. So some of the answers are kind of cut out. So I was looking around for these, and I found the perfect interview which spoke to me, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is gonna make the segment. So the celebrity interview for Tuesday is Vin Diesel, and this is very funny to me. This is very, because you can have preconceived notions about somebody that, oh, this is who they are or whatever. And what I like getting out of these is that I can take a different kind of tact, look at it from a different angle. And with this one, I think we did that. So that's going to come out on Tuesday. It's the celebrity interview with Vin Diesel, coming soon to YouTube. I think, that's the only place it's coming off. All right, and as we wind it down, it is time. You've been waiting patiently, and I thank you for your patience, for the joke of the week, and then we're going to end it. And this is how it goes. Earlier, plenty earlier, don't know if that's correct English, there was a joke of the week that I had written down, and now it's time to deliver it. And it goes like this. It goes, oh, and by the way, thanks for watching this far. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your interest and support and etc. etc. You know, I don't need to say it. Thanks. All right, the joke of the week this week, and then I will bid you adieu and wish you well until next time, is: I was at a discount store and found a fake Ralph Lauren polo shirt for only $15. I could tell it was fake, but I didn't care because I paid for it with a stolen credit card. Alright, be good. Peace.
It's the Inside Dope Show.